Harambee! Neno hili si hivyo, mambo ni matatu.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome back to our channel once again. And it is my hope and prayer that the video is going to find you guys in good health. Personally, I am fine, as you can see. Kisumu is fantastic, and maybe you could also let me know where you're watching the video from, the county or the country, in case you are out of the republic. Ladies and gentlemen, there is one thing which I keep on repeating on this platform, that removing William Samoei Arap Ruto from office in 2027 via the ballot is actually very easy. But the question has always remained, who can remove William Ruto from office? Raila Odinga is no longer there. Can Kalonzo Musyoka remove William Ruto from office? Can Rigathi Gachagua remove William Ruto from office? Can Fred Okengo Matiang'i remove William Ruto from office? That's where the challenge is. On Thursday, there were by-elections in the Republic of Kenya. And I took my time and analyzed the outcome of those by-elections. And I have bad news for the united opposition led by Kalonzo Musyoka, Rigathi Gachagua, Eugene Wamalwa, Fred Matiang'i, Martha Karua, and Justin Muturi. I have very bad news for them. They will lose 2027 general election to William Ruto unless, and I want to mark that, unless they do some of the few things which I want to explain in this video. So I want to ask you for a few minutes to listen to me. And also for those who support the united opposition, I want you to take this opportunity to also offer your unsolicited advice to the united opposition in the comment section. Before we get into all those, for those who are watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click the subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support, because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. Ladies and gentlemen, the first thing the united opposition must do, and they must do it by April next year, is to announce their presidential candidate. They must agree on a formula on how they're going to pick that presidential candidate. Whether that candidate is going to be Kalonzo, whether it's going to be Matiang'i, whether it's going to be Martha Karua, or whether it's going to be Rigathi Gachagua, they must announce that presidential candidate early enough. And there's a reason why I'm saying this. The first reason why they must make that announcement early is that by making that announcement, they are going to be able to deal with the aftermath. It would be very sad for them to push it until 2027 when it's late, and then they name, for example, Kalonzo, or let's say Matiang'i is named, then Kalonzo balls out. Or you name Kalonzo and then Matiang'i balls out. Importantly, there is also need to sell this candidate. So if you are to pick a candidate late in the day, it would be very difficult to sell them. Because right now, Kalonzo is already a brand, but being sold in Ukambani easily. Matiang'i has captured the imaginations, for example, of the Gusii community. If one of them were to be picked, then, for example, if Matiang'i is picked, then there's that time for them now to go and convince the Kamba nation why Kalonzo Musyoka might not be on the ballot and why they should support Fred Matiang'i, and vice versa. If Matiang'i will not be picked, the Gusii community would not want to listen to any other thing. So they will have to go and convince them. And of course, it will also give them ample time to figure out the best winning formation. So they must pick that candidate early enough. Of course, it will also help them with the fallout. Number two, and I think this is something which came out on Thursday during the by-elections. The united opposition must now shift their focus not only to their strongholds, but I think importantly to the alleged battlegrounds. I don't know whether to say that Mount Kenya is one term or Mount Kenya is two term, because I'm confused. Is Mount Kenya one term or is Mount Kenya two term? Based on the outcome from Mbere. Let's say even if the DCP candidate had won, just assume Newton Karish had won. Is Mount Kenya one term or two term? So let's assume Mount Kenya is one term. Kisii or Gusii region, one term. Ukambani, one term. So where are the battlegrounds? They must map out all those battlegrounds and start comping them. If the battleground, for example, is coastal region, they must come out and focus in the coastal region. If the battleground is in Nyanza, for example, then they must come out and compete with William Ruto in Nyanza. One of the biggest mistakes which this team is going to deal with is the idea of share politics, where Rigathi is sitting somewhere comfortable that he has Mount Kenya already in his pocket. And when a by-election is called in Mount Kenya, he's defeated. A situation where you assume that the Gusii community is with opposition. And if Matiang'i is not given the ticket, then they move away. So they must now start shifting their focus on all those alleged battlegrounds and deal with them. The third thing which they must do, and this is a matter of urgency, they must figure out how to craft an elaborate vote protection unit. It's unfortunate, but I want to be honest. Personally, I think DAP Kenya lost Malava because they didn't have an elaborate strategy of protecting the votes. I'm also 100% sure that DP party, supported by Rigathi, failed to secure Mbere North because they didn't have an elaborate vote protection strategy. And vote protection strategy does not just mean having men and women who can disrupt people, push people on the election day. Does not mean that those people will be sitting somewhere. When elections were being conducted in Kasipol, Gladys Wanga was nowhere, but she was very busy, seated somewhere coordinating. When the results started streaming in, they started celebrating, because by the time they were celebrating, they already knew the results. And they had a tallying center. If I were to challenge you, can you show me where DAP Kenya had their tallying center? Can you show me where the DP had their tallying center? They didn't have. So vote protection begins from there. You have your tallying center and you tally your results so that you don't depend on the results from IBC. You didn't, for example, me, I didn't see those IBC forms from 34. Those IBC forms, their images captured by DP agents from Mbere. What I saw, Muturi grabbing that young man. Unless these guys will craft an elaborate strategy of protecting the votes, including hiring hackers, ethical ones, to monitor whether IBC servers are being tampered with. Unless they will invest in real-time transmission of their own results to their tallying centers, they should forget. The fourth thing they must do is to re-strategize with the Gen Z voting bloc. Kenyans have lost hope on the Gen Zs as a voting bloc, that these young people will not vote. And the results from Thursday's elections confirmed this. Gen Zs were nowhere. You didn't see them going live on TikTok. They were not there. But it's the voting bloc that can actually shift the equation for these young people, for the opposition, which can shift the equation, for the united opposition. They must come up with a strategy on how they are going to convince the young people, especially from their strongholds, how they are going to convince them to go and register as voters and join their parties. Because unless these Gen Zs are involved in party management, they will not. They will not. Don't confuse Gen Zs with this generation of border. No. There's a generation here. They're not in border. They're online, they're very sharp. They know how to make money. They're well aware. They can recite for you the constitution, but on the election day, they were not there. If this group wants to win, they must look for these people, win them to their side, convince them to register as voters, and involve them in the operations of the party. And lastly, they must come up with a rallying call. What is their rallying call today? Of course, there is the Kasongo must go. There's the one term. Ruto must go. Are they fashionable today? If you are to ask me, I doubt if those rallying calls are fashionable today. I began by telling you that I followed the by-elections very closely. The truth is, one man did a very good campaign. And that man is Ndakwa. Rigathi focused on rallies. And therefore, they did not create that rapport. But for a national campaign, you need a rallying call. Ruto had his dynasty versus hustlers. What is the rallying call of the opposition today? If I were to ask you, what is their rallying call? Zero. I don't know what to think. But for me, removing William Ruto from office, if they want, is easy. Because people will go, vote, and the votes will be counted. If they are well protected, IBC will have an option other than to announce the winner. But with this joke where UDA is winning a seat in Mbere, and they want to convince me that all those 50+% of people who voted for UDA candidate in Mbere will not vote for Ruto. Even if you take half of them, Ruto is still safe. Because in the mountain, he doesn't need a lot. He just needs a percentage. I don't know what to think. Until next time, this is Lee Makwiny. If you enjoyed this video up to this stage, please let me know in the comment section by just tapping present. Until next time, this is Lee Makwiny. Bye-bye.